social media. So it's been, we haven't, some of us have seen that happening, but we haven't implemented a system of filing a complaint through social media, which formalizing that type of system hasn't occurred in all areas. In addition, in Ecuador, there is it's possible through a mobile app, and in Colombia through text messages. The shortest period of time in which one can place a complaint is first Argentina with 60 days, then Colombia 6 months. In Peru, it's you have up until 2 years before there are 2 years ever since in Colombia it's 6 months. After 6 months, one does not have a right to file a complaint. In Peru, it is up to 2 years after the expiration date of the date of the bill. Regarding the period of time in which the first institution needs to respond, it ranges from 5 days in Brazil up until 90 days in Argentina. In Peru, it's up to a period of time of 50 to 20 days and depends on the amount, if it's related to billing. Regarding complaints complaints related to quality, in the amount of time in which a response needs to occur in 5 days, 5 working days in Brazil, in Dominican Republic and Argentina, 20 days, 20 calendar days, and 90 days. There's also an option for users to be able to file an appeal if they are not in agreement with the first decision, which has been the case in Peru. Regarding the preliminary stages, if we can talk about the experience in Mexico. In Ecuador, Brazil, Argentina, and Colombia, there is not a preliminary stage for the solution of for resolution of conflicts. But the other countries that were reviewed have included within their regulations mechanisms alternative means of resolving conflicts. There also have been the only countries in which there's been the application of an positive administrative silence (SAP), which means when companies do not respond. For example, assume that a user is no longer following their complaint. This has been identified as favorable for the interests of the users in Colombia and Peru. But regarding the response to complaints in Peru, there are complaints that are related to funding or to billing, and another related to procedure, which are complaints. I'm personally not very much in agreement of this type of categorization. In the end, it's all complaints. But according to so these are some of the conclusions. And I invite you to review this document. It's a very extensive document that has an analysis of in different clusters. In the beginning of the document, it talks about the 62 pages that the document contains. And we hope to be able to present this again, including the contributions of the United States, Mexico, and Costa Rica, which came in a little late, and we weren't able, in recent days, and we weren't able to incorporate them.
If there are no comments, these are all the documents that we have at the report ship, and with this, we conclude our report ship. Mexico, Mr. Chair. Since we're now in the conclusions, we would like to express the experience of Mexico with regards to the regulator and the organization of advocacy for the users or consumers. After the regulation law, we created a new regulator for telecommunications, and this reform forced the consumer protection organization to create a specialized organization only for telecommunications. This last organization was created about 8 months ago, particularly after its inauguration. It has coordinated with the IFT, and we have been able to reach a great collaboration with IFT, especially in the exchange of information with regards to sanctions and contracting models. And this exercise that the regulator talked about the prior work in order to reach an agreement between the user and the company. So it has been quite positive because we not only have a good relationship with the concessionaire with regards to concessions, but we also closed the circle of state presence, and we were able to have the government in the consumption of suppliers and users, and also a presence to balance the consumption and protect the rights of users. Thank you, Mexico. I would like to highlight that we still have 7 more countries and 2 or 3 additional ones. So we would like to urge the countries to complete the information with regards to benchmarking. We have not prepared a new decision or resolve asking the countries to give this information. But what we are requesting you all is to support us so we can have a robust document, because this document could be the basis to later extract new practices. We have some very good practices that we have suggested in this discussion, but as more practices that we have, the better, because the conclusions are going to be more robust. Thank you very much, Chair. We finished the session on time to start the extraordinary session of Comcitel. So we invite the Dominican Republic to take the floor. Good afternoon. We're going to start the second plenary session of this third extraordinary meeting of Comcitel. And we would appreciate if the organizers put the document order, business order number 2. It's on the platform. Well, while they find the document, because you have to go to the Comcitel session, not the CCP one. Well, while they upload the document, I think that you all have it in your computers. We are going to have the presentation of document 68 review 4 with all the results of the discussions that were held during this week in the 3 informal groups. And then we will see the resolves to submit it to the approval of Comcitel. We would have then the approval of the final report document number 71. And in other issues, we have 3 short documents that we have to present. Number 70, which is a modification of a calendar for a contest that was approved in December 2015, and 7273 that is going to be presented by the Executive Secretariat. These are 2 informative documents. And so if we agree, if we have any observations, the Dominican Republic, could you please give us document 68R4, and we will ask the organizers to upload it. It's in English and Spanish. We have the business order on the screen. Thank you very much. So now, could you upload document 68R4 in English and Spanish? So now I invite the Dominican Republic and the chair of the ad hoc group to present the results of this document. Thank you, Madam Chair. We have this document that is 68 review 4, which is a resolution project on the contributions of the members associated to CITEL. This is a resolution that has 5 results, and maybe you could go to page 4, the last page, where all the results there. The first one is to approve at referendum of the next meeting of the CITEL Assembly to be effective in 2017 in $6,000 for each permanent consultative meeting in which they participate. The second resolve is to approve at referendum by the next CITEL Assembly the following change to Article 87 of the CITEL's regulation, in which we incorporate that the associated members will have to contribute to the financing voluntarily. And the part that is added is that the minimum contribution is to be half a measure of contribution for associates that are part of the academia. This did not exist before. Resolve number 3 is to the affiliation payments are going to be to pay the expenses of the meetings of the CCP or whatever they might deem necessary for the support of the basic activities of the Secretariat of CITEL. Resolve 4 recommends the Executive Secretary to present this resolve to the next meeting of CITEL for their consideration. And 5, instruct a group ad hoc created by Resolution 63 of the Assembly, of COMCITEL, to continue with their efforts to prepare a recommendation on methodology and the classification of associate members, including the new consultation to associate members for the CITEL Assembly. This is the content of the resolutions that was the result of an effort and consensus by all the members that were present, and we request it to be approved. Thank you very much to Dominican Republic. We subject this project to your consideration, Canada. Thank you, Ms. Chair, and the Dominican Republic and the ad hoc committee for this document. We have a question with regards to the resolve number 2. When it says for the associate members with a legal status of the member states and 1.5 units for all the others. Could you please clarify who are all the others? Because we don't understand who are the associate members that the member states have the obligation to endorse and approve their membership. If they're not entities that have a legal status in the state that promotes them to become members of the CCPs, who are those members? Thank you, Canada. In Dominican Republic, please. Thank you. The regulation was amended in 2014 of the CITEL, and we included there, this is a work where many of the countries participated. We included the power for members to become associate members of CITEL, all the institutions that don't have a legal status by any member of the organization, but with the support of 3 states. And this was the new categorization of member states, and the minimum payment is for 1.5 units. This is in Regulation 87.1 in force, and this is what the regulation refers regarding this topic. Thank you, Dominican Republic. I would like to ask the Executive Secretariat, because they say that this note is very textual. Thank you, Ms. Chair. The explanation by the Dominican Republic is exactly the same. If we just take it as the amendment in 2014 with no changes to date, and this is why we're taking it as it was written in January 1st, 2015 until 2017. Are you satisfied with the answer? Well, if we don't have any hands raised, then I would ask you if this result project is approved in this 3rd extraordinary meeting of CONCITEL. Mexico? Thank you, Madam Chair. We have a question on the issue of academic members or the universities and educational institutions. This is something that should also be considered as part of these amendments that are being made. Of the resolves that are stated here on the screen, we would understand that the associate members with a legal status, including the university, could be forced to pay $6,000. Is this correct? Or how would this work of those academic members? Because finally, although it is true that this is in the regulatory framework of CITEL, in this document, I can't find them in this document. Thank you, Mexico. The Dominican Republic. Thank you. I will try to clarify this doubt, although I did not understand the question of Mexico very well. But as read the reference to the academia in the new paragraph 1 of Article 87 that is going to be changed extraordinarily and then in a referendum be supported by the Assembly. At the moment of establishing associate members, they have to participate with a contribution. The minimum level of contribution will be, and this is the part that we're introducing, half a unit of contribution for associated members pertaining to the academia. In other words, if this is $6,000, the minimum contribution by an associated member of a university would be 3,000. Those that are not linked to the academia, the minimum amount would depend of where their legal status is incorporated. Did I answer your question? I just, it's not that they're linked to the academia, but they are part of the academia. They have to be in academia. That is important to take into account. Thank you, Madam Chair. Consulting with the academic members of the IoT that are also part of this delegation, they commented that at the ITU, some changes have been made to the payment of their sectors, not only their sector, but the three sectors, because it's also standardization and radio communications, and they're paying about 1,900 Swiss francs for the participation of all three. So we understand that CITEL has an important relevance because it is a regional conglomerate. Nevertheless, the ITU gives the opportunity to participate to all these three sectors for a lower amount. I think that we should reconsider the issue of the participation of academic members, especially the contribution unit that they would have to pay. If it's half, it's almost the double of what they pay to participate in the international telecommunications group. So what is the incentive for an academia to participate at CITEL if it's easier to participate at the ITU paying even less? Thank you, Mexico. Paraguay. Paraguay raised his hand. We would like to support the consultation of Mexico. And in the case, it is a proposal that with 1/2 of a contribution, we could be able to participate in both CCPs. Another question that I have is if now we increase the quota and within this consultation process that we're going to have with associated members, we find that many of them answer negatively. And during the assembly, if this resolution is not approved at the assembly or there's no referendum, then what is the procedure in that case? I would ask the Dominican Republic to help answer this question, because if the Assembly decides not to endorse this resolution, then the Assembly will have to provide us with an alternative for this case, or if not, we would go back to the beginning. But I would like to listen the comment of the Dominican Republic. Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, as you mentioned, as Dominican Republic, we don't have the power to talk and give a response that the Assembly should be giving. But certainly the Assembly that is going to meet in 2018, and they have to endorse this. So we have another space before 2018, which is in December, a meeting next December with Comcitel. Comcitel is really taking this extraordinary measure, and there I think that we could review this. And I understand that this is a proposal, an urgent proposal that should be adopted, and that because it is very important for the sustainability of CITEL. And we will continue with the consultations and dialogue with the enterprises and associated members, and we will have more feedback. And Comcitel, in the worst of cases, if we are in December and everybody left, then we would have to do a new one and say that it's going to be 3,500, and who knows what's going to happen. But the truth is that it's too daring for me to start talking about all the things that could happen to answer what is going to happen after we decide on the contribution. Thank you, Dominican Republic, Mexico. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mexico, Uruguay, and at the back I have two more, and Canada as well. Excuse me, but we would like to insist, especially on the part of academic members, because we cannot allow to charge more. Because if we're trying to attract academic members to participate at CITEL, we cannot allow them to pay more than our own organization, because we're a mirror of this, and that is the ITU. So I would urge the chair of the group that is working on this proposal to reconsider this amount, especially with regards to the academia. That is my first comment. The second one, I'm very concerned about the comment of the distinguished delegate of the Dominican Republic, in the sense that if by December we see that everybody left, well, then we will start all over with a new scenario. We cannot. And from Mexico, we consider that we cannot base ourselves on assumptions or whatever God wants. I think that we have to have a clear idea that one of the views, and we have also mentioned this in other meetings, is that this contribution measure will be for those companies that don't have an open fund to increase their fees from, well, overnight. They will leave. And I think that we have to try to have a much robust scheme and a more concrete one, so that we don't base our decisions on assumptions. We cannot say if we implement it now and it doesn't work and everybody leaves, then basically we will be like a street dog. And not even the $3,000 or the $6,000. So I think that we have to be very clear on this. We don't think that it is so simple or something that we should take so lightly. Thank you, Mexico. Before we give the floor to Uruguay, I would like to ask two questions then for the academia. What would you propose? And secondly, what would you propose for the second issue as well? Because we have to reach agreements now. Mexico. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think for the first proposal is very clear. At least we should not surpass the limit that the ITU has established for the academia. Definitely. We don't think that that it should have the same treatment as for enterprises. We are talking about 1,987 Swiss francs, and that is what university pays. And we could give the equivalents in dollars. So I think that we should establish a mechanism. It would be the equivalent for the two CCPs or just for one? It's 1,987 for all three sectors at the ITU. So it would be for two CCPs, speaking specifically of academia or academic members that are not linked, but that are members of proven members. So in the second issue, I believe that these consultations and this definition should be finished before August for the next CCP1, because normally not only the companies but also the governments budget the next year at least 3 months before the end of the fiscal year. So this means that in September, October, November, and December, they would be defining their budgets. For August, we are at a very good time to define, after the consultations, the amount of the contribution unit that would be approved by referendum, and companies would have enough time to analyze this issue and also to budget in their programs the fee of the contribution unit of 2017 at least. So we are also trying to be considerate with the industry because we think that it is very important to have them and include them. And the associated members that I talked to extra-officially said that the companies are not millionaires. They need to budget and justify the expenses. And I think that this is very important. And going back to what we said before, we have to have a message in which we are explaining what is the added value of participating at the CITEL. Those are our proposals. Thank you, Mexico. So you propose the equivalent in dollars, Uruguay, to the fee that is paid at the ITU for the two CCPs, which is around $2,000, $2,011. And the second thing is to approve this and then prepare a justification letter on the reason why we have increased the contribution and send it as soon as possible so that the companies can adjust themselves at the moment of budgeting. Well, thank you very much. Uruguay, please. Thank you, Madam Chair. We have debated a long time for 2 lunches on this issue at the level of the committee that was open to everybody. We reached an agreement. Apparently now there is no agreement at all. There are 2 things that are on the table. We, at the work group for the review of the contribution, the proposal was that the academia would pay 0. And after all the discussion and the change of methodology for this calculation, we accompany the proposal made by the delegate of the Dominican Republic. I think that it is a good practice to go 0.5 to 0.25 units of the contribution value for the academia. We are, together with El Salvador, the smallest countries that are present here today. And for the University of the Uruguayan Republic, the difference between $3,000 and $4,000 with the budget that they have and the amount of students that they have is too much. And I think that for all the large universities in the region, it's the same. It's something that we have to think about when we talk about the academia. Anyway, and despite this, I consider that we have to close this topic today because that's what we agreed with the delegation of Mexico. And with this, I propose that it's 0.25 for the academia and not make a calculation based on the ITU because they are two different realities that cannot be compared. And even the dependence of two international organizations that are so different, like the UN and the OAS, in the way that they work in their geopolitical ideas, etc., and their history. And the second issue that is on the table is the topic of the potential loss of associated members. When we discussed up to what level to increase this fee, we even thought about the undesirable possibility of losing associated members for the $800 more that we are increasing in the proposal of the working group. I have the good news that briefly we will have a new associated member of Uruguay with which the balance between more and less will be mitigated through this mechanism. But anyway, I reiterate the need, the budgetary needs of CITEL were expressed by the executive director. They are real. We all know the situation. And what we want to defend is the organization. For a country of the size of this country, to have 3 delegates is very expensive but we continue because we want this organization to persist. And we have attended to the creation of other organizations at the sub-regional level, but we understand that to have one with the complete hemisphere is very important. So I reiterate that I don't think that the $800 is going to be something that will make people change their minds about a decision that we agreed to take today. Thank you, Uruguay. I just want to ask a question on the first issue. Then you're proposing a 0.25 for both or one? A CCP or 2 CCPs? No. With the same, this for the 2 of them, as the CCP said. Well, I want to you for something, and I suggest you and I ask you for this second issue not to be more debated because we were in the first plenary in the 3 meetings talking about this second item, and of course we reached this agreement as was expressed by Uruguay and Canada, and we want to have a win-win. Of course, we have to take care of the private sector, and we're going to write a letter with the reasoning and justification, and we're going to work with our associated members, and I would urge you not to open this topic again, and let's leave it as it is. And $2,000 for the 2 sectors or 0.25. And so please make your comments thinking about this. At the back, we had 2 before your I cannot see very well, so I didn't see who raised their hand. Could you identify yourself, please? Excuse me, I am from Copaco, and unfortunately, yes, get closer to the microphone. I'm from Copaco, and unfortunately, I'm going to touch on this topic that you asked us not to talk about anymore. As an associated members, we have filled a survey with several items for this fee. We understand the effort of the people that met to reach this, but you're talking about making an effort to keep this. And the idea is to have more people for the benefits of all of us here. but we're talking about 50, 60%. And as a country, in this country, as an associated member, I cannot assure you this. And here we have some persons or entities that are not in this meeting. So for me personally, as an associated member, it affects me to have to pay 60% more. So didn't I think that at the beginning you were talking about a gradual addition of 15, 20%. And with regards to academia, it would be very easy to determine a 0.25 or 75, but it's not going to be the same thing. If you want to have more participation, you have to have a study that will favor us all. Thank you. Paraguay. Mexico had raised, so Canada was first, and then Mexico, and then we have a petition from Argentina. Canada, please. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to make a reference to a topic that is very important in this work and for the future. The ITU has been working on this issue based on Resolution 187 of the USAM, that are the new methodologies to establish new categories of memberships and fees. It would be prudent that in the exercise in the future, see what the ITU has done, because the ITU has not rushed into a decision. And I say this in relationship to Result 5, where it says that the ad hoc group is going to make a new consultation to all the associated members, reiterating what we said in two previous opportunities, that of the 109 associated members, only 5 answered the questionnaire. And so I would like to suggest that if there are any associated members here, we would like to ask them if they have an opinion, because as Uruguay said, we are crossing our fingers that we're not going to come out with a resolution of $6,000, because we are supposing that everybody is going to support that. And we have heard an associated member of Paraguay saying that no. And so as far as the academia, let's think about another topic in the future. Regardless if the fee is going to be 0.25 or 0.75, we don't want as Canada to enter into this discussion. But a university as British Columbia or the University of Waterloo, Toronto, or McGill, that are universities with an enormous amount of resources, what can I say to the British Columbia or Toronto University? That they have to pay 0.25% of the unit because they are an academia. Again, an academic entity. Again, we beg you for this consultation with associated members to be made as soon as possible, so that the next meeting with the CCP1 and with the okay of the chair of the CCP1 to see what answers we have received, so that when we get to Concertel in December, without making a decision here about 6,000 or whatever, but to ensure that we're not rushing into a decision without having heard all our customers. Because we're saying, for you to continue being members of our club, we're going to raise your fee, your contribution. And the associated members are in their full right to say, thank you very much, but we're not going to continue participating at CITEL. So once again, I understand all the effort that has been made, but let's see with this point with clarity, this Result 5, so we won't face a very problematic situation and lose our associates. Thank you, Canada. If I understood well, you're proposing to think this Result 5, but also the result of the universities is also under discussion, and postpone the decision of this resolve. probably until the next CCP one or the next Concitel. Uh, sorry, the thing is that we have a series of considerations, or whereas we do not oppose ourselves to the fees of the academia of 0.25. But if this is something that is going to be decided to enter into force in January, what is the immediate urgency to decide this now without having all the judgment elements that will allow us to make a decision in not in a rush? If we have to decide on this today, well, we will approve it. But I want you to make a difference between urgent and important. I understood what you said, but I wanted to have more clarity. This is obviously a very important decision. And what we want is to have more associated members and to take prudent decisions as well. Mexico.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are going to join in on what Canada has expressed, and also quickly we had a small meeting with Uruguay regarding point 25. We are in agreement, and we are thankful for the proposal from Uruguay regarding setting this point 25 in the second point without opening it up for discussion. We have already made our expressions. We join what has been commented by Canada, the distinguished delegate from Canada. And we also believe that once this has been approved, this resolution has been approved, we also are not going to oppose, but we do need to have that communication with those, with the added value, of course, that we are going to give to associated members for the increase in the quote, in the fee. We also would invite the member states, although it's quite complicated, to make direct contributions to CITEL. I think the executive secretary has mentioned it, but I don't think we should leave aside. We're not just attacking one of the legs. There are other legs, other branches that are in our realm. We, as member states, also could consider these different contributions that are directly tagged towards CITEL. So I think we have to look at a much broader realm, broader sphere. Thank you. Dominican Republic. I see your sign up because we need to make a decision. This is a delicate decision, and I think that there are other associated members, and we would like to listen to them and make this decision together. So, as Uruguay said, we have a decision. We had a decision apparently, and now we don't. And so we need to decide if we have it, we don't have it, and what we are going to do, and do this with prudence. Argentina has requested the floor. Dominican Republic, could we listen first to Argentina? Could the organizers help us? Argentina, hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Yes, we can hear you. Could you please identify yourself? Hi, I'm Victoria. Hi, how is everybody? Hi, Vicky, we can hear you. Please go ahead. would just like to join the Mexico's comments related to academia, and also the proposal from Uruguay of the 0.25 for the committees. Our situation is that we are in conditions to approve it and not pay more than what is currently being paid by the UIT. The ITU. As you know, we work a lot with academia and with the ITU, and it's important that they continue participating. And it's a lot of work and quite an effort to make them participate. And this is that they're being financed by the state, funded by the state, by the Ministry of Communications. So I imagine what it could mean, not necessarily about the fee itself, but more just to encourage them to participate actively, as well as paying a fee. So for countries like us, what that could imply. And regarding Canada's comment regarding the associated members, I also in agreement, but I think there's a great opportunity because a lot of the associated members are working through 81, which I think it would have been a really good opinion, a really good idea to ask their opinion. So to ask if they want to participate in the CITEL or not. In my opinion, as I've been saying for a long time, since we started talking about this, I think we need to make a lot of effort to generate interest in the CITEL, not just because we want to propose the fee, because there's going also. I'm sorry I can't participate as much because I am participating remotely, but also it's important. The participation of the university has been very successful, and it would be difficult for them to be paying more than they're paying the ITU, and I think it's important to give the associated members an opportunity to express their opinions. Thank you, Argentina. Thank you, Vicky. I would also like to take advantage, and I know that we have other associated members here in the room. I'd like to encourage you to express your opinions regarding this topic, please. Please, the moment to raise your hand and request the word, please just identify yourself. I don't know who wants to go first. Yes, please. Muchas gracias. Yo represento AT&T y por supuesto también encontramos mucho valor en CITEL y queremos
sure that the work can continue. As a private sector member, I appreciate the comments made by Mexico in basically reiterating the fact that we don't have infinite resources and we do have to abide by budgets. This is quite a big increase, and I know I will have to go back to my management and explain. So of course, having additional information in terms of how this money will be used. For example, in Resolves 3, it talks about support of basic activities. I would really like to know what does that entail so that we ensure that any additional funding that comes from sector members goes to the activities that are of value to us. And I also just kind of want to make a general statement that we really do need some sort of stability in terms of budgets going from year to year. And anytime there is a gap, it really can't be left to the sector members to try to close it. But thanks for the opportunity to provide some comments.
Sí, muchísimas gracias, AT&T. Tengo la República Dominicana y no sé si México había pedido la palabra.
I'm not sure Mexico also requested a turn. Thank you, Madam Chair. First and foremost, thank everybody for your comments and for the work that's been done on the resolve in the states as well as the associated members. We we've modified Resolve 2 to present it for approval with the place of a half unit, or as well as a fourth or 0.25 of a contributory unit for members of academia and for both consultative committees. So continue forward with the approval of the resolution with this change. Insist in Resolve 5, as Canada mentioned, that we should reflect on the purpose behind this, the invitation to this extraordinary meeting special meeting, which talked about the methodology. Which, we know that this is a methodology that's much more complex, which is why the countries adopted urgent means regarding the contributory union, so as to be able to count on the support of associated members and the private sector. Again, we invite AT&T to participate in filling out the polls, the questionnaires, and to participate in the forums and the focus groups that we can do. As mentioned, that the Secretariat organizes a communications plan in which there's an explanation of the importance of CITEL for the member states, as well as associated members. Continue to insist on the commitment that we have as states with our missions to defend CITEL within the OAS, and to continue to keep making the collaborations, direct collaborations with CITEL, so as to allow it to continue growing. But I understand that there's quite a bit enough consensus to be able to approve the resolution, and with the modifications that we are proposing, and perhaps we can put it up on the screen, in which there's a 0.25% of the contribution for academic members. Thank you. Thank you, Dominican Republic. I would like to ask if the Secretariat of CITEL could help us to make this change in the text. I don't know if Maria Celeste is over there and could help us. And number, I would like to ask Uruguay and Mexico. Thank you. I just want to say that here, there's a sector member here next to us that is asking for a chance to talk. So, of course, please speak. Thank you, Madam Chair. Don't worry for not having seen me. We have been asked to participate, and as associated members, we feel obligated to reflect that I want to do quickly, because it's very difficult to have to look at farther along, to look at why it is that we've arrived in this situation, why it is that we find ourselves in this situation with CITEL, which is perhaps exceeding, surpassing us as an institution because of an issue that is outside of the CITEL's realm and the OAS's realm, which on the one hand we have a lot of responsibility, and on the other, but we also have to understand that we are in a new context. We have new management, we have a new executive secretary that we support and that we give the rights, and we value their efforts and the work that they're doing to transform CITEL and to generate new mechanisms so as to be able to bring in more sectors. And on the other hand, as an associated member, I would like to declare a mea culpa for not having responded to the questionnaire that you have sent out to us, so as to be able to understand how we feel. So in this context, and with the valuing of the different activities, and understand CITEL as a hemispheric, an important hemispheric organism that's quite transcendental regarding issues, TICs and telecommunications, that really help not just administrations, but also the private sector, industry in all senses. For the private sector, it ends up being difficult having to face increases to contribute to fees when we are in this process of transition that we can see in our organism. So, Madam Chair, what we are seeing in this room is a reality with a concern, a very important concern, not just for our proper operating, the operation of the Secretariat of CITEL regarding financial resources, as well as CITEL as an entirety regarding what it generates and what it means for industry and for administrations. In this sense, the sensation that I have is that perhaps a decision is being rushed, that I think that perhaps has a margin of being able to reach consensus, taking into account that the new fee would come into effect next year. So the proposal I'm talking longer than I meant to, so as to be brief. The proposal would be, with all respect to the administrations that ultimately respond, is that if there's no operative risk in the upcoming months of implementing the budget for the organization, as well as the different meetings of the consultative committees meetings, or the executive secretariat's work, really, that this decision be postponed, to continue analyzing it, to generate more possible responses, more opinions regarding this document that you all have worked on so much, and in the next meeting, a special meeting of CITEL, to be able to, in a PCC 1 or 2, make the final decision. If you think that this proposal is out of place, I will be happy to pull it out of this room, and we are going to support the decision that you make. If in this meeting, you decide to approve this resolve. And so
The diagnostics that all the delegations have expressed. So that is all, and I hope that I have been clear. Thank you. Thank you very much, Erickson, and thank you for your sincerity. I also think that Isaac, please. Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chair. From the Internet Society, I would like to reinforce that our participation is very valuable with CITEL, and the exchange that we have with everybody in CCP1 is very valuable. But as an association, we also have to justify, as AT&T said, we have to go back to our grassroots and justify this increase in this payment or fee. So tomorrow, everything that is for the associated members will have to be studied for the not only for the academia, but also for civil societies and everybody. So I think that we have to make this balance, but we also have to take advantage of this opportunity that you have given us to give us our opinion and to tell you that we want to support you as well. Thank you, Isaac. I don't know if we have any other requests for the floor. I would like to listen to the ad hoc group and the chair of the ad hoc group, because they have worked very hard on this. And tomorrow we're going to read 3 conclusions that are going to be in the memoir aid of this group, with the results of all the informal meetings. And all this is the result of all the groups that were participating to first work pro the sustainability of CITEL, and each one of us will have to talk to our members and representatives of the OAS to indicate the importance of this, and also to talk about the CITIC, about the development of the Americas and actions towards this is a call for our chancelleries and administrations. We have to carry out some activities for the OAS to pay the CITEL and not have any reductions. If not, you are going to invisibilize the Secretariat of CITEL. And at the meeting for the budget of CITEL, we will discuss this, and you have to discuss the direct contributions to the Secretariat of CITEL on publications and projects that have a positive impact for one or more of the countries of the Americas in the elastic. And finally, the third one is to urge the administrations of CITEL to increase the number of associated members to CITEL. I wanted to read these conclusions. If you understand that this is not what we had discussed, just to show you that there is a concern and an interest for our governments, our administrations within the OAS to defend the role and the importance of the CITEL and everything that has to do with the budget. I briefly would like the Secretariat, because somebody asked if there was a danger in the sustainability of the operation of the executive secretariat, and I would like to ask the executive secretary to briefly respond to this. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. In fact, there is a situation, and here we're summarizing a resolution as a petite committee or about some discussions that have been carried out for many months. In fact, the increase refers principally, or the majority of the increase refers to needs to a deficit that we have for the meetings of the CPs. We're talking about the EAPs, the engine that we have at the CITEL. The fact of having these meetings is under the charge of the host countries, but not all the countries, and with the bad economic situation of many of them, they don't have the resources to carry out these meetings. This meeting of this week, we were at risk of not having it. That's why we have made a very important appreciation to El Salvador that has made an effort. And I'm not going to explain what we had to do to carry out this meeting, but we thank Lima, Peru, to be the next CCP1. Otherwise, we would not be able to have that meeting. So we're talking here about the fact that if we don't find a host country, we will not carry out the meetings. It will not be possible. So we have identified very clearly that there are limitations. For the CCP2, we have a host for the first one, but not for the second. So we are at the risk of having a limited CCP in less time and less conditions. And we have another situation due to the OAS, and this has to do with the situation that was explained clearly by my predecessors. And the OAS has asked us to take some immediate actions. Why in January 2017? Because we cannot be retroactive, and we cannot make any other collections, and we do it with enough time so that the companies can include it in their budgets. Those companies, or many of them that we talked to or answered, we asked them to make a decision in the first quarter so that they could include it in their budgets. And this is why we had an extraordinary meeting in order not to delay it much. Not all the privates and administrations are knowledgeable of the aggregated fees, and I think that we only have 11 minutes, so I will not enter in depth here, but this does not have a cost for CITEL. We're taking advantage of the effort of the administrations and the OAS, because there are some resources of the OAS that are being moved in favor of CITEL. And with the support of the Dominican Republic as the um, seat for the General Assembly. We will see what happens in this assembly. Thank you to the Executive Secretary. We have a great concern. We understand the concerns expressed in this room. This is a concern that we have been working with for quite a while. It is not easy to make this proposal. We also understand the need for the companies to have the trust that this is not going to happen every certain time. But with this change, with these concerns, and with this recommendation that I read, and the presentation that was made by the Executive Secretariat of the efforts that are being made to reinforce these PPPs, I would like to ask you, and I want the administrations to be very honest, and if there is opposition to approve this resolution, raise your hand, or should we wait? Colombia? Madam Chair, for Colombia, it is not easy to go to or attend every meeting in person because we've done quite a lot through the web. And from here on, it's going to be even less simple to have these meetings personally. We invite the states, the member states, to make an effort to come out with the El Salvador decision because maybe the survey will be completed this time and we will have to make more tables and things. And if in December we're going to approve something with which everybody is happy, we will have to work a lot because it is difficult in economic terms. And people will not have this fee budgeted, and they will have only half of the fee. And so we insist that we make an effort at this meeting to reach a decision. Thank you, Colombia. Then I'm going to ask a question, a direct one. If there is no opposition, can we approve this resolution? Okay, perfect. It's not an easy decision. We have a commitment. Therefore, this resolution is approved. Thank you very much. We have very little time. We have a document that I would request because we have the report of this meeting, and if you could introduce it very briefly to the drafting committee. It's document 71. El Salvador. Please be very brief. Thank you, Madam Chair. We're going to present document 71 that has the minutes of the third extraordinary meeting of the Permanent Committee of CITEL. We have placed the names of the heads of the meeting, Mrs. Amparo Arango, Oscar Leon, and the members of the drafting committee, and the member states of COSITEL and associated members and international organizations. First of all, the next page, we would thank the members if they have any observations. Go to the next page. Thank you. The extraordinary session started at 4:30 in the afternoon of May 16th in the room 10 of the fair, and the head of Cositel gave the opening words and invited Noemi Cotto from the superintendents and her team. On behalf of the Dominican Republic, we heard their commitment to continue supporting CITEL. Then we had the quorum, and we distributed the agenda on the. Could you just summarize, please? Well, basically, we have the approval of the document 64R2 and the project of for the calendar 65 and the distant participation 6901, and to end in the ad hoc group to determine the methodology for the fee, which these are document 67R2 and 68. This is the minutes. If you have any observations, please send them to us. Well, thank you very much to El Salvador. I would ask if we can also include the recommendations that I read just a minute ago. Do we have any comments or observations? Well, then we approve this report. We're going to submit, because there's a document number 70. This is a document I would ask the delegation of the Dominican Republic if you can submit this, because two documents by the Executive Secretariat to present the document on the screen. Please go down. This is a PPP that is part of the initiatives that are being made as part of the Executive Secretariat, taking advantage of the integration with the OAS as a whole, and in the framework of the General Annual Assembly. We're going to sign this partnership. Who's going to participate? The chancellors or ministers of foreign affairs, the president of the Dominican Republic, and the heads of some of the private companies that are joining this partnership. And for example, in the case of Cisco, they're making an effort in which they are increasing the certifications and up to 130,000. They're joining themselves to this partnership to improve the employment conditions for the staff that works in this industry. in the Telefonica is also contributing with some education kits for several countries, and there is another efforts with other companies like American Mobile that has to do with schools and education. And so we have like 8 or 9 initiatives that we're working on, and they are going to be disseminated on June 14 when we sign this partnership at 5:30 in the afternoon in Dominican Republic. This partnership is not closed. It's not only for that day. We are with the goals of 2020, 2030. We're going to have another meeting in Bogota in June, and we have invited the Minister of ITCs of Colombia. Number 73 is a document in which the Secretary General, Luis Almagro, the Secretary of the OAS, is describing all the strategic initiatives that the OAS has. To the next page, the next page. It's only one page. Well, the document displays in the first section that all the strategic initiatives of the OAS are backed up horizontally by the CITEL. And additionally, within the 5 strategic ones, 2 of them are together, CITEL and other secretariats. In the case of development, for the entity, one on the connectivity of the Caribbean and the other one for the prevention of disasters. So the initiative says that we work together to find projects that will allow us to comply with the expectations that we have in our countries for the development. Thank you. Canada. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a question with regards to the previous document. We see that there is a declaration, and we wanted to know if the text of this statement has been agreed upon with the member states of the OAS, or if it is a text that is ongoing, prepared by CITEL Secretariat and in the office of the Secretary General of the OAS. Thank you. It is a text that has been worked with the Secretary General of the OAS, and that was also reviewed by the legal department of the OAS, and it's going to be signed by the Secretary General of the OAS and the presidents of all the companies that will go there. In the case of the countries that want to join, they have reviewed the content and they're going to add themselves to the signing of this document. It is not part of the General Assembly because it is a discussion forum, and it is not part of the documents that are going to be discussed in the Assembly. And here it is important to clarify this because there were 8 other parallel panels, and the support that the OAS is providing CITEL. So they recognize the importance of the STIG inside the development framework, and that's why it is different, and it was not consulted among the documents of the Assembly. Canada. Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Canada is totally in agreement with the final purpose of an alliance of the companies for the Millennium Goals. What is not clear is the member states of the OAS that will go to the General Assembly in June will be given a document to sign it without the opportunity to read it, because it was not contemplated that the member states participate in the drafting of the document. If it is a declaration of the ones that sign it, the question is, without knowing the value of the initiative, and if the signatories have not participated in this document, I don't understand the methodology that will allow the administrations to sign it, because they will say, you have presented to our consideration the signing of the document, but not to its review. This is a concern that I don't know if other administrations might think as well. Do we have another intervention? Uruguay. To share the concern of the Canadian administration. Do we have any other administration? Secretary, could you inform us about this very valid concern of the administrations about the possibility of being able to influence and probably make some changes? I speak as the Dominican Republic, and we also think that that would be very good. The documents that are part of the General Assembly of the OAS, they have an internal procedure that has been agreed by the countries for the review and the signing of these. So that is not part of the assembly. It's just a panel that was outside the assembly. So they included it as one element so that it could be known and understood by the chancelleries. The General Secretary will sign it, not all the countries, not all the chancellors. If we wanted to become a document that is part of the assembly to prove it, we would have to have given it 8 months before, because we cannot include it as part of the assembly. We can review the content maybe here, but not within the parameters that are contained or pre-established to become an integral content of the assembly. So we will ask the legal department on some mechanisms that we could use. This is an alliance that is not rigid, it's totally flexible. And we're going to have several areas in which we can have each operator or country to review it and to know how they can join. And the only thing that they're doing is just extracting what the countries, through their pillars or mandates, are extracting. And we're going to put it just on one page because it is a concrete summary with 4 objectives or goals, so that we can have the support of the privates. Thank you. The alliance or partnership in the document, could you just put it at the end where it says we sign in the Dominican Republic the partnership number 2030? Who is the one that is describing this? The privates or Mr. Almagro only? As it was open initially, and I invite you as countries to subscribe yourselves and join the partnership. Initially, this is an open document, it's flexible, and this is a preliminary version, and the countries that are interested, they could join to sign this. And due to the restriction of the documents of the Assembly, the Secretary General will sign it with others that want to join themselves to the partnership. Several private, 6 or 7 companies, said they were going to join. And we have the formats that tell them how they can join with specific documents. any other entity that is interested could also, or administrations that are interested could be part of this, and that is a review of the contents. Do we have any comments or intervention? Canada. Again, once again, thank you for the explanation. And again, we reiterate that there is a commitment of everyone to work with the private sector because the objectives are the same. What calls my attention is the process by which the Secretary General of the OAS that represents the member states has elaborated the text of what seems to be a declaration that apparently was reviewed by the legal office and that is going to be submitted at the margin of the Assembly General in Santo Domingo, and the text that is here has been already decided for the member states of the OAS that agree with this text to sign it. Again, I'm asking you if the member states have not even participated in the preparation of this document. So regardless of the value of this partnership, I just want to make this observation because I can anticipate that the first question they will ask me in Ottawa is, with whom did you consult this document in Washington? With a permanent mission of Canada to the OAS or with the Department of Innovation and Development, or just to make this observation and to have this clear before we continue with this topic. Thank you, Canada. Then I would like the Secretary to give us a light. I think that this is a very important question that Canada has made, and we have to see the possibility that the countries in the time that we have participate in some change or suggestion to the document. Thank you, Canada. Yes, I think that the comment is valid. Canada's observation is valid, but this is not a fixed document that is established, and this was sent more than 2 weeks ago through the circulars of CITEL, and we showed and explained it that it was just a preliminary version, and the changes that could appear once we receive it back, because here we have the countries that are in charge of the telecommunications topic, and it would be like the place to review the document and to agree with the content that it could have. Then I propose, if you agree, that we present this at the Comcitel to verify, and if they agree with the content, so that we can comply with this observation that is totally valid, submitted by Canada. Peru. Thank you. To find a solution or advance in this topic, we're thinking about establishing sessions through the WebEx to gather the comments of the people that are interested in introducing changes to this document. I don't know what the deadline could be. The Secretariat could define this up to what is the limit for the presentation of an innovation or comment or addition to this document. But I propose that the work dynamic could be, since from here to June, we will not have another meeting, a virtual meeting. And in this activity, we want the countries that are interested to participate. Estoy trabajando todavía, Adrianita. the technical secretariat could give us an orientation. Well, finally, since if we agree in taking the proposal of Peru, then we would send, although it is available in the web, and tomorrow we could review potential changes with all the interested parties from the different countries. And in fact, since we are very close to this event, then next week we would close it. Since we're all gathered here, those that reviewed this document, we could evaluate this with other entities in your country. On the 7th or 8th of June, I think would be the deadline so that we can review it at home and send it back in that WebEx on June 7 or 8, and then receive all the comments. Mexico, BC, please. Just a procedural issue that I would like the Executive Secretariat to respond. If we're making a decision to amend a document that would be presented to the Secretary General for their consideration, we do not need a decision here to circulate the document. And if we are in the possibility of making amendments, if this is going to be done in a more dynamic way outside the procedure that we usually use. Thank you, Mexico. Well, let's say that I'm not clear. I'm asking within the framework of the legal counselor at Concitel. I would have to ask her my first observation, because we have talked with the legal area of the OAS, is that this document is open to the public for anyone who wants to adopt it. So I don't see that this is a decision or resolution of Concitel, because we're precisely showing that Concitel agrees and is in line with these guidelines or thoughts on the partnership, because we could not impose something that at the end the privates or third parties that are not part of the CITEL would be adopting. So we have already talked with the legal area, and I think that Peru has something to say. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that the concern of Mexico is on how to legitimate the comments approach through this virtual work. We have to have a formality, a decision or a resolution that tasks a group. We have to see who is going to coordinate this, maybe the Secretariat, and establish that we're going to carry out these comments and that they're going to be sent to the Secretary General of the OAS as the position of CITEL on the document. I think that this is what Mexico was referring to. Thank you, Peru. Mexico. As part of the content of the minutes of this meeting, let's leave a motion that we task the executive secretary the consultation of this document among the member states of Concitel to receive contributions, suggestions, inputs, because I don't know if we have time to prepare a decision, because Concitel would close today. The option would be to leave it inside the report as part of responsibility for the secretary from here to the next week. And after, as the result of the WebEx that we're going to have on the 7th and 8th of June, they can inform the Secretary General of the OAS. Do you agree with this proposal? Or do we have to have a decision? No, it's okay. Thank you very much. Just an observation. There's a program for this activity. It would be important to have this document as well, because the program indicates who has been invited, who confirmed, and this is part of a process that is ongoing. Is it feasible to have this information available? Yes. Secretary. That program is dynamic in the sense that those that participate in them at the moment of confirmation, we had a draft that we sent with a circular, and we're going to send you, as we have more confirmations, we will send you the document. Today we had 2 more confirmations, so I think that next week we might have another one. And I hope to send it after the WebEx, together with the potential changes to the partnership. And we're going to send the draft that we have available at that moment. Well, if that is so, they would be included within the minutes of this meeting. The task requested to the secretary, the executive secretary, to summon to a WebEx on June 7 to receive the comments and contributions to this document. And the secretary would resend this circular with the updates of the agenda up to today. And if in the WebEx we have some other updates by the private sector, we would do that. Do we agree with this? Secretariat, please. Could you validate with your countries the results of the first circular? We have some technology people of the countries that are interested in participating, so that we can have an updated agenda. So please inform us of which other members of your countries or ITCs are interested, so we can send an updated agenda. Is this an event of 1 hour? That's correct? Yes. If we don't have any other questions, we conclude this third Paraguay. Excuse me, just to, I don't know if we should send this through the email. It's just our expression that the value established is equivalent to very important percentage increase, and that this measure should be complemented with other activities to motivate the permanency of the associates and also attract new ones, and our desire to continue supporting the strengthening of the CITEL. Thank you. Thank you very much, Paraguay. Mexico, a very valuable contribution. We want to add ourselves to the expressions and the affirmation made by Paraguay. So if we can include the name of Mexico in this affirmation, we would be pleased. Yes, we're taking note, and this is going to be in the report of this Concitel and in the recommendations as well. And we can add them to the recommendations made initially. Thank you. If we don't have any other intervention, I thank you very much for your patience, your intelligence, and your commitment and your concerns, but also your attitude of this complex and complicated situation to find solutions. Thank you. And then we will continue soon in December in the Dominican Republic. Thank you.
Esto ya está fuera del... Solamente recordarles, el próximo Concitel va a ser...
This Concitel is going to be 3 days. From the recommendations or the discussions that we had in December, this year we have planned it for 3 days. You will receive the formal invitation very soon, but I just wanted to let you know so you can keep it in mind. Thank you. With this, we conclude today and the next notifications. Participants that requested translation equipment, please go to the back of the room to get your documents, and the transportation to your hotels is outside ready. And I'm asked to remind you that the heads of group are still meeting, and they're going to go to room number 11, to the heads of group. Go to room 11. Tomorrow, the buses will pass at 7:30 in the morning. This is all for today. See you tomorrow.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias nuevamente a las traductoras y a todo el equipo de apoyo.
Es siempre para nosotros un placer. Feliz noche.